about an hour and 15 before the game. We didn't know if he was going to play, and I don't know if he knew he was going to give it a shot. But Jay Will and I were on court talking to people who were positioned to know, and they didn't know.
He had 17 and 10 in the first half. Knicks an 11-point lead, and then coming out in the third quarter, it was Brunson, Jay, who set the tone again.
I said first quarter and third quarter is where the Knicks have had some lulls, but that was not the case with Jalen Brunson. He decided to put this team on his back in defining moments of the game.
Doing it inside, doing it outside. The Knicks would open a 16-point lead, and then Allen, the Knicks defense, which gave up 130 points the other night, so much better.
Give me that help here.
Mitch
spiked that into the baseline, and you see Halliburton getting up slow. He was feeling bodies all night long.
Halliburton only had 8 points last night. Meanwhile, it was Brunson on the other end in the mid-range. He would put the Knicks up by 18 there, and then it's more from Karl Anthony Towns plus the foul. So
that knee ain't hurt. That knee ain't hurt on offense.
Towns 24 points and 13 rebounds. Brunson 32 points and 5 assists. The Knicks live to fight another night, and that night will be tomorrow in Indiana. With their performances last night, Brunson and Towns become the second pair of teammates to score 20 points in each of the first 5 games of a conference final. Look at the company they now keep. That's Shaq and Kobe, who did it against Sacramento in 2002. Lakers would win that series in 7. Here was Brunson, meanwhile, after the game on outdueling his counterpart.
I mean, I backed against the wall, and so I wasn't thinking I need to play better than him. I was just thinking I need to help my team win, and that's my mindset every time I'm on the court, just helping my team win.
Every game is do or die, you know, so we don't bring that energy, we don't bring that execution, our season will be over.
And instead, it is not over. Yeah.
Mike, I am in heaven. Do you know how much I enjoy watching point guard duels? I mean, think about what Game 4 was, and then the contrast for Tyrese Halliburton and how they put him in handcuffs and how he didn't live up to the expectation, not being aggressive. What Wendy was talking about in games where he scores 20 or more points, they're 30 and 13. They cut off the head of the snake, and then vice versa. Just a level of aggression that we saw from Jalen Brunson. Alan, we talked a lot about this in Game 4. Down the stretch, and I did not think Jalen Brunson was aggressive. He made the right play, but sometimes you talk about elite players making the play for themselves, not automatically the right play.
What he could control was come out and take control of the game. Yeah. He did control that.
He did it.
That had nothing to do with the Pacers. That had to do with him and them. And let's give some credit to Tom Thibodeau. They had to understand when they walked on the floor yesterday, we've got to get control of this game. And there's one guy to do it, and it's Brunson, and he did.
Listen, let's put Wendy in the conversation. Windman, Brunson not the only Knick who had been hearing some criticism. There's been a lot of talk about Rick Carlisle out-coaching Tom Thibodeau in this series. Well, you know what Tibbs did a sensational job of last night? Staggering the minutes. You talked about it earlier in the week, Wendy. Staggering the minutes. It was Brunson's turn, then it was Cat's turn, and they were very seldom out there together to be the defensive liability they have shown so far in this series.
Right, and they also gave Towns the opportunity to have the ball at the top of the floor where he was willing to attack. He had 8 layups and dunks last night, which powered their offense. But to me, the Knicks' offense is rarely the story. Brunson has normalized offensive greatness. We expect and know that he's going to be great on offense. The story of this game to me was Brunson on defense. The Pacers have targeted him throughout this series, frankly, with a lot of success. Last night, he did not allow it. He was much more aggressive dealing with the screens, fighting over them, taking on the challenge. And look, the first 4 games of this series, pretty much the defining thing for the Pacers offensively was the success they had against Brunson. They shot 68% targeting him as the primary defender in games 1 through 4. Last night, just 3 of 14. And I think the 3 of 14 number says it enough. But the 14, they obviously, their number one priority is to go after him. He handled it. He also destroyed Aaron Nesmith. He went 5 and 5 against him when he had the ball. When Nesmith had the ball, he did a great job fighting him. Mikal Bridges did a great job fighting Halliburton. All in all, a terrific game plan and terrific execution by the Knicks.
Brunson was tremendous last night. Yes, Alan.
Yeah, you asked a question, I think it was last week, about Brunson and like how would you describe him? And I said he's a winner, right? This is what he does. And so these are the situations following a loss in the playoffs. The Knicks are 6-1. Brunson's averaging in those games 32-7 on 50% shooting. He takes it upon himself to make sure that you stop the bleeding right away. They don't go on losing streaks. Their longest losing streak in the playoffs were the first 2 games of this series.
Right.
And that's basically it. He also understood first quarters, starter games have been a problem, starter second halves have been a problem. What did he do last night? He was dominant first quarter, start of the game, and start of the second half. He recognized the problem, and he took care of it.
This is a triumph for Greeny, who ought to feel better today, because he was annoyed yesterday at any local criticism of Jalen Brunson. And by the way, you were totally justified.
Yes.
And Brunson did answer it. And again, but the playoffs are yin and yang, back and forth. If anybody thought Halliburton was going to go Oscar and do that again, they're not paying attention to the history of playoff basketball. Now let's pay attention again. What happens if this thing goes back and forth? And yes, a great team can get on a roll. But as Wendy's pointed out, do we think there's any real separation between these Knicks and these Pacers? No,
Right.
There isn't.
Yeah.
So what's the back and forth suggest we're going to get tomorrow?
Well, you tell me. There's a feature we do here frequently called Bad Game or Bad Sign. I'm going to flip it around. Was last night a good game or a good sign for the Knicks?
Both. Both. But again, that does not preclude Indiana from flipping that tomorrow. They're going to have to. They know it. They've got the pressure. I think tomorrow's the best game we see in this series.
I guess what I mean by that specifically is what worked for the Knicks last night, particularly defensively. Does it work for them again, or is there an adjustment you see that Rick Carlisle can make to flip that around?
I mean, I see 3, 4, 5 adjustments you can make off that.
Give me one. Give me the first big one.
Set a screen in the backcourt. Like Miles Bridges.
The key to this game for you, for those who didn't see it earlier, was the Knicks picking up Halliburton in the back. One of the truly great games in postseason history.
Miles Turner, I was saying Miles.
Miles Turner is who you meant. We knew. The Windy, Tyrese Halliburton, a 30-point triple-double with 0 turnovers. It had quite literally never been done in postseason history. Last night, it could not have been a more different story. What did you see, and what do you expect tomorrow night?
Yeah, so Pacers fans would tell you that sometimes this happens to Halliburton. He's had 13 games now this season where he scored in single digits. This wasn't even his lowest scoring playoff game this postseason. He had a 4-point game in a dud game against the Cavs in the last round. This sometimes happens. He sometimes has low energy games where his scoring abandons him, and the Pacers are 3-10 in those games. So it isn't unusual for him to do this. The key to me about stopping Halliburton is stopping his speed. You know, going into this game, the first 4 games of this series, the Knicks averaged 5 more turnovers per game than the Pacers. Last night they had 5 fewer. So you take 5 and 5, that's 10. That's a 10 possession swing where Halliburton isn't able to go. Halliburton also had 10 fewer defensive rebounds last night than in Game 4. Right there, I just highlighted 20 possessions between the 2 games where Halliburton isn't able to get charged up. Part of dealing with him is not letting him get out on the break. The Knicks did that last night. If they can replicate that, they open up their chances.
Jay, ask the question that you were asking me a minute ago.
Well, I mean, I know the topic is going to be today. You can't run away from it. Like, people say, oh, is that a superstar that only takes 7 shots? My answer is yes, I still think he's a superstar. I think the designing of the strategy to hinder him was significant.
Yes,
now, also, a lot of that is on him as well. He has to look at the basket, Mike, right? But I still think he is the engine for this team that gets them going offensively. You take away the head of the snake, you take away their team. That, to me, still signifies he's a superstar, though.
This, just like last night had to start with Jalen Brunson, tomorrow's got to start with Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes.
And it's up to Rick Carlisle, who said this, and you pointed this out. Rick's comments last night where he has to help his star. I'm sorry. His history as a coach and particularly one where he's wearing a ring on a finger, a championship ring, is that Rick Carlisle knows how to do that. And it's going to be up to them, maybe in-game adjustments for the Knicks to figure out what to do. But do I expect Halliburton to just sort of, slowly step into Game 6 tomorrow at home? I do not.
Yeah, that was Game 3 to Game 4. Rick Carlisle said the same thing after Game 3 with Tyrese Halliburton, who did not have a good Game 3. And you saw the results in Game 4.
I want to show you something else that happened last night. Jay Will and Micah Wilbon were down on the floor doing SportsCenter and other reporting for us at ESPN. And Jay Will was on the 6 o'clock SportsCenter doing an interview, and this happened.
This dude gave me a bow. He don't even know this. I got 6 stitches in the left eye.
Wow. Look at that. Shaq!
I don't caress my head like that in public, Shaq.
Yeah.
Don't treat me like Kevin Hart.
Like it's a magic 8-ball.
A magic 8-ball. Pretty good line from that.
It just comes out like being victimized by Shaquille O'Neal. He once did that to me in a live shot and picked me up by the shoulders as if I was a little child.
Yeah.
Just because he